That's good.
Okay, I'm Stephanie, and I'm a senior in high school, and I'm trying to graduate on time, but also trying to learn more about the veterans, because it's almost Veterans Day. What this does for us is it helps us build communication skills and kind of get over some of the stage fright that we have, but also later in life with job skills, if we ever need to communicate or anything like that, be on camera. But it also gives us extra credit towards our graduation.
Sure. Okay, that's good.
So I'm just gonna ask you a few questions and then get this started.
Okay.
What were you, what did you serve?
I was in Europe.
Europe.
I was based in Foggia, Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a nice town. We got in there a couple times, but they didn't have any facilities really.
Yeah.
Because of the war. I arrived there in November of 1944. We made one mission in December, and which was what they call a milk run. No anti-aircraft guns or fighters against us. So we thought, oh, that's an easy war. And then we made another mission on January 15th of 1945. And that's where we lost an engine. It overheated. So the pilot feathered it. And by the way, I was a waist gunner, right waist, in the B-17 bomber. And we're going along, but we can't keep up with the formation. So the pilot asked us, do you want to go on or shall we return to base? He's very democratic, I guess. We all voted to go on. So we proceeded to bomb Vienna, Austria, all by ourselves, just one bomber, which is a stupid thing to do. But part of my job was we had chaff, which is aluminum foil, which we would throw out to deflect the enemy radar. So I'm sitting there chucking that out just as fast as I can go.
Yeah.
And the tail gunner said the German ACAC, the anti-aircraft, just followed us around our 180, never did catch up with us.
Oh, really?
So I think I did a good job there.
Oh, yeah. Well, they didn't catch up to you, heck yeah.
But anyway, we continued south then, and we lost another engine due to overheating. I should mention this was an old plane that was due to be converted into a transport. So they'd kind of started stripping it already.
Yeah.
But we lost the second engine, which was our number 2 engine, which is just to the left of the pilot. And the feathering system quit at the same time. So this propeller is windmilling and pulling the engine through, which is not good for anything.
Yeah.
So the pilot was trying to throw the engine off, and he chased everybody out of the nose, because if that prop broke off, it could come right into the pilot's compartment. It's just in line to do that. So he was trying to break that off, and it finally broke off. Fortunately, it went the opposite direction. So we're still flying along on 2 engines, and then the third one overheats and quits. So we hit the bailout button. 7 of the enlisted men went out altogether out of the tail end, or on the side of fuselage. So we were all together. The officers were someplace else. But we all got together, and then we slept out that night. And this was the coldest winter that they'd had for a long time, so it's pretty cold. And we started out the next day to walk south, and but there was foggy, and the last man in the group, you could see the lead guy just losing his direction.
Yeah.
So we stopped for the fog to lift, and in that general area, the land was like in squares. It'd be a square of pasture or cropland, a square of forest, and on around. We came up to this one block of forest. The road turned to the left, so we followed that, and then it turned right to go around the corner there. We came around to that corner, and there's a whole column of soldiers in front of us. So seeing as how we were 7 men with 45 automatics with one clip of bullets against a column of them. When I say column, to us, it could have been a squad or a platoon, but there's a lot of them. That's what it looked like to us. So we just sat down in the snow and took out all of our bullets and threw them out in the snow. And we also carried heroin with us, which we threw out in the snow too. And they came up to us, and this one officer motioned he wanted my gun. So I reached in, I had a shoulder holster. And I pulled it out, and he took it, and he turned that thing around, and he looked in the muzzle. And then he pulled out his gun and held him like this, looking in the muzzles. Have you ever seen a .45 caliber pistol? Well, it's about that big a diameter. His was about like so. And he was amazed by the size. I don't know why. But anyway, they took us into a town, and this was the scariest part of the thing is they lined us up against a fence, and then they stood across the road with their rifles ready. We stood there for about half an hour. We didn't know whether this is a firing squad or what it was. Anyway, they finally motioned for us to get back on the road, and they took us to a house, and they wined and dined us there. It turned out the Russians were about 15 miles away, and they were going to hold us as hostages, and we were to tell the Russians how well taken care of we were. Well, for some reason the Russians went in another direction then, and so they loaded us into a vegetable truck and hauled us into, I think it was the city of Zagreb. And we came up to a German checkpoint, and Germans started shouting at us, and of course we couldn't answer. Well, I should say, the Croatian soldiers had put us into their winter coats and hats, so we looked like them. Anyway, when the German soldiers tried to order us to speak to them, we couldn't. So we now came under German jurisdiction.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, a couple days later, we were loaded into a train, and there's 7 of us and 3 German guards. And there's always one guard that sat in the compartment, train compartment with us. The other 2 are outside in the hallway or whatever you want to call it on those trains. And is this what you want, or?
Yeah, of course. No, we want to know all about it.
Okay.
Everything you want to tell us, go ahead. It's
Anyway,
a great learning experience.
I have to admire those German soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
They had orders to deliver us, and they were going to do it. And a good example is that at one point a German officer slammed the door open, says "Roust." He wanted us out so he could have a seat. This German sergeant that was in charge of us, he had his burp gun laying on his lap. He just raised that up, says 9. That officer slammed the door shut and took off. So that was one example. But the train stopped in Vienna, the town we had just bombed. They took us into a soup kitchen, and we joined the line of civilian and soldiers. And one of our crew was of German descent, and he understood German. And he could hear the mumbling of the crowd in there. So he said, if I say hit the floor, do so. Just about then the lights go out. And he says hit the floor, and we did. Lights came back up, and here's our 3 guards with the burp guns at the ready, but they were pointed at the people, not at us. Their orders were to protect us and deliver us, and they were going to do it.
Wow.
So anyway, they got us out of there in a hurry
Yeah.
into a separate room, then brought us a big kettle of, I guess it was split pea soup or something like that. But anyway, we enjoyed it, because that was about the first food we'd had in about 2 or 3 days of travel. And then another time, the train came to a sudden stop, and there's a lot of scurrying. Everybody was getting off the train, and we found out that a American fighter had strafed the train, and evidently he only had, I don't know, probably not enough ammunition to do anything. At least he stopped the train,
Yeah.
so nobody got hurt from that. They got us into Frankfurt, Germany, and interrogation center. There we were in solitary confinement, and this was first part of February. It was still mighty cold, but the windows were busted out, and we had 1 blanket. That was it. So a very cold existence. But they interviewed us, or interrogated us, I should say. And they asked what our bomb group was and so forth, and I says, I can't tell you. Just name, rank, and serial number. He says, well, that doesn't matter. He opened a book. He says, there's your squadron insignia. Well, I probably was a little shocked, and let me know that, yeah, that was right.
Yeah.
Then he asked some other questions about my background. I wouldn't give it to him. He says, that's all right. So he opened some other papers, and here's my high school records. And I was just drafted 1 month after I graduated.
Yeah.
They already had my records.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so then we're transported by what we call cattle cars. So it's standing room only,
Yeah.
to Nuremberg, Germany, and placed in a prison camp there. And most I can think about there is that at night, the British would come over with what they call their earthquake bombs. And you'd be laying in your bunk, which was a solid wood bunk with wood slats. That bomb would go off and you'd just bounce. We were 20 miles from Nuremberg,
Yeah.
about that. But you could feel that earthquake bomb. So then we were handed a square of cloth, and They actually provided us with needles, and they said, make a backpack. Well, to do that, you had to separate a thread from that square of cloth
Yeah.
all the way down. That became your sewing thread.
Mm-hmm.
So we made bags to carry what we had with us.
Yeah.
We started out on a march, and we walked from Nuremberg to Moosburg, which I think is 90 kilometers. But we had German Luftwaffe personnel guarding us.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have any planes to fly or repair or anything, so they put them on guard duty, and they pretty much knew the war was over.
Yeah.
The one time they pulled us off the side of the road, and here comes a whole bunch of British soldiers guarded by SS troops. And boy, they're just boom, 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 marching right along. Here we are, just ambling along.
Mm-hmm.
But we were getting Red Cross parcels in, which I'm thankful for. The American Red Cross set up a deal with the Germans. The Americans supplied trucks painted white with the Red Crosses, and the American driver would take it up to the front lines of where they agreed to. And then an American prisoner and a German guard would get in the truck and take it into Germany.
Yeah.
It's loaded with Russian Red Cross parcels. So that's what kept us going. But we'd go through a town, and we'd take bars of soap, go up to a door of a house there, knock on the door, and offer the soap for bread. And so that helped us survive.
Yeah.
We got into Moosburg then, and I was put in a barracks with, I counted 7 nationalities. There was Yugoslav, Egyptian, Australian, British. Everybody was in together.
Yeah.
And you actually shared a bunk with somebody else because we were so crowded.
Oh, really?
But then we woke up one morning, there's no guards. And all of a sudden, here's this American tank comes crashing through the gate, and we were liberated. The reason there being that Hitler had ordered the SS to kill all the American prisoners. And this is verified, it's not talk. So Patton sent his tanks through the lines to operate behind the lines, and this one tank company battled some SS troops about 2 miles away from our camp, defeated them, and then this tank came rolling through the gates, just smashed right through the gate, and stopped close to my barracks. And I didn't get to meet them at that time, but I since have met the tank commander that did that. He's a good friend of mine now. And he was a welcome sight. So from there, the Americans took over, and we were brought home.
That's awesome. Wow. That's a lot. That's like...
Well, there's a lot I left out, but you know, there's times when you do stupid things.
Yeah.
When I bailed out, because we wore a chest parachute,
Yeah.
they told us to fall butt first, which in a V.
Mm-hmm.
So when you open the parachute, it'd come out this way. If you were falling on your face, that parachute would
Suffocating.
be right into our face. But as I'm falling, and that's quite an experience, it's nice. My helmet started coming off. I reached up, pulled it down, but didn't fasten it. Started coming off again. I reached up, pulled it down. Still didn't fasten it. Third time it came off, I said, oh, gee.
Lost your helmet.
You do dumb things at times, you know,
Yeah.
that there's no explanation for it.
Sometimes you're just not thinking about
But
it.
I guess that's about it.
You enjoyed it? You enjoyed everything that you did?
No, I didn't enjoy it.
No,
No,
no.
not when you're a prisoner.
Yeah, I wouldn't enjoy that.
Not
either.
when you have to do what you're told to do and you survive with what you have.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't enjoyable. Parachute jump was,
Yeah.
but I've never jumped again.
I'm too scared of heights. I would never do that ever in my life. Unless
Well,
I
I
really
am too,
had
but
to.
I can fly in an airplane and height doesn't bother me.
Oh, really? I've never been in an
But
airplane.
if my feet are on a ladder, then height gets to me.
Yeah.
But I guess that's my story.
Okay. I think we're about done here.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for interviewing me. I hope I didn't bore you.
No, I've never heard a story like that before. I mean, this is my third time doing interviews.
Yeah.
And I've never heard anything like your story before.
Okay.
And we all appreciate you guys coming in here and doing this for us. It's
Well,
awesome.
I understand you're sometimes scared to do things on camera
Yeah.
and so forth. I used to be that way.
Oh, yeah.
And
I get all tense.
it's like last September, one of my friends who was supposed to be here was invited down to Camp Pendleton at the infantry base to speak. Okay, well, he can't drive, so I volunteered to drive him. So we get down there, we go to this church chapel on base, and the lieutenant commander chaplain said, well, I can't let you just sit there. Would you read this ceremony regarding a table ceremony
Mhm.
for missing men?
Yeah.
And he says, while you're there, why don't you give a little story? Well, here I am up on the stage, first time, and packed with Marines.